The cargo ship settled onto the docking platform with a hiss of hydraulics. Daewoo powered down the engines and stretched his back. The journey from Earth had taken 3 weeks, and his muscles ached from sitting in the pilot's chair for too long. "Are we here, Dad?" A small voice came from behind him. Daewoo turned to see his daughter, Rin, rubbing her eyes. She had fallen asleep in the passenger seat, her school tablet still clutched in her hands. At 8 years old, she was small for her age, with dark eyes that saw too much for a child. "Yes, we're at Nexus 7. Stay close to me, okay?" Daewoo helped her put on her jacket. "Remember what I told you about stations. Don't talk to strangers. Don't wander off. Don't touch anything that glows." Rin recited the rules perfectly. She had been traveling with her father for 2 years now, ever since her mother passed away. She knew the dangers of space stations better than most adults. Daewoo nodded and opened the airlock. The smell of the station hit them immediately. It was a mix of alien foods, machine oil, and recycled air. Nexus 7 was one of the largest trading hubs in this sector of space. Hundreds of different species came here to buy, sell, and trade. The docking bay was crowded. Tall, insect-like creatures carried boxes on their backs. Short, furry aliens argued with each other in high-pitched voices. A group of blue-skinned merchants examined a shipment of rare metals. Everyone was busy, and no one paid attention to the human and his daughter. That suited Daewoo just fine. Humans were still new to the galactic community. Most aliens thought they were weak and soft. Let them think that. It made life simpler. He led Rin through the crowd, one hand on her shoulder. Their cargo was medical supplies bound for a colony 3 systems away. It was honest work, and it paid well enough. Daewoo had left his old life behind. He didn't want to fight anymore. He just wanted to raise his daughter in peace. The cargo inspection area was at the far end of the bay. A bored-looking official with 4 arms waved them over. Daewoo handed over his documentation and waited while the alien scanned the papers. "Cargo manifest checks out," the official said in heavily accented standard. "Bay 17. Unload within 4 hours or pay overtime fees." "Understood," Daewoo replied. He started to turn away when 3 large figures blocked his path. They were Drukai, a reptilian species known for their size and strength. The leader stood almost 7 feet tall, with green scales and yellow eyes. His name tag read Vrak. 2 smaller Drukai flanked him, both carrying shock sticks. "Human," Vrak said, his voice like gravel scraping metal. "You need to pay the docking protection fee." Daewoo kept his face neutral. "The docking fee is already paid. It's on my manifest, not that fee." Vrak smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. "Protection fee. To make sure nothing happens to your ship while you're here. Accidents happen all the time in this bay." It was a shakedown. Daewoo had seen it before on other stations. Some species preyed on those they thought were weak. Humans, being new and relatively small, were easy targets. "I'm not interested," Daewoo said calmly. He tried to step around Vrak, but the large alien moved to block him again. "I don't think you understand, human." Vrak's voice grew harder. "This isn't optional. Pay the fee, or your cargo might get damaged. Maybe your ship develops a leak. These things happen." Other aliens in the bay had stopped to watch. Some looked curious. Others looked amused. A few whispered to each other, probably taking bets on what would happen next. No one moved to help. Rin tugged on her father's sleeve. "Dad, can we just go?" Daewoo looked down at his daughter. She was scared, but trying not to show it. That made him proud. But it also made something cold settle in his chest. "How much?" he asked Vrak. The Drukai's smile widened. 5,000 credits. It was robbery. The entire cargo run would only net Daewoo 8,000 credits. but he was willing to pay it to avoid trouble. He reached for his credit chip. "Dad pays his fees," Hiren said suddenly, looking up at Vrak. "He always follows the rules. You're just stealing." The bay went quiet. Several aliens gasped. No one talked to Vrak like that, especially not a human child. Vrak's yellow eyes narrowed. "What did you say, little human?" "I said you're a thief," Hiren repeated. Her voice didn't shake. "You're breaking station rules. I could report you." Daewoo's hand closed around his daughter's shoulder. Hiren don't, but it was too late. Vrak moved faster than Daewoo expected. The Drukai's hand shot out and shoved Hiren hard. The little girl stumbled backward and fell. Her hand scraping against the rough metal deck. Everything stopped. The entire docking bay seemed to freeze. The other aliens who had been watching suddenly looked nervous. Some started to back away. Daewoo stood perfectly still. His face showed no emotion. His body didn't tense. But something had changed in the air around him. It was like the moment before a storm breaks, when the pressure drops and every animal knows to find shelter. Hiren got to her knees slowly. Her palms were bleeding from the rough deck. She looked up at Vrak with those dark, serious eyes. "You shouldn't have done that," she said quietly. Her voice was calm, almost sad. "You really shouldn't have done that." Vrak laughed. It was a harsh, barking sound. "Or what? Your weak human father will cry about it?" "No," Hiren said. She stood up, brushing off her pants. Blood dripped from her hands. "But you touched me. That's one. Touch him again, and you'll see." "See what?" Vrak leaned down, bringing his face close to Daewoo's. "I want to hear the little girl's father beg." Daewoo still hadn't moved. His voice, when he spoke, was soft. "Walk away. Right now. Take your friends and walk away. Or what?" Vrak raised his hand. "Or nothing," Daewoo said. "Just walk away." But Vrak didn't walk away. Instead, he swung his clawed hand in a vicious backhand across Daewoo's face. The sound of the impact echoed through the bay. Daewoo's head snapped to the side. Blood welled up from 3 cuts on his cheek where the claws had struck. The watching aliens murmured. Some started to leave quickly, heading for the exits. Others pressed closer, drawn by the spectacle. Violence was entertainment for some species. Daewoo slowly turned his head back to face Vrak. Blood ran down his cheek and dripped onto his jacket. He raised one hand and wiped the blood away with his thumb. He looked at the red smear on his hand for a moment. Then he smiled. It wasn't a friendly smile. It wasn't the smile of someone who was happy or amused. It was the smile of a predator that had been given permission to hunt. It was cold and terrible and completely calm. "You were warned," Daewoo said quietly. Vrak's smile faltered. For the first time, uncertainty showed in his yellow eyes. The human should have been scared. The human should have run or begged or cowered. Instead, the human was smiling like Vrak had just made a fatal mistake. Behind them, Hiren picked up her father's medical kit from where it had fallen. She didn't look worried. She had seen this before. The other aliens in the bay suddenly understood something. They didn't know what was about to happen, but they knew enough to know they didn't want to be close when it did. "Last chance," Daewoo said, still smiling that cold smile. "Walk away now." Vrak hesitated. Then his pride won out. He couldn't back down in front of everyone. He was bigger, stronger, and had 2 allies with weapons. "Get him," Vrak snarled to his companions. Daewoo's smile widened slightly, and then he moved. The first Drukai with the shock stick never saw it coming. One moment he was advancing on the human, weapon raised. The next moment, Daewoo had closed the distance between them in a blur of motion. His elbow struck the alien's throat, collapsing the windpipe. As the Drukai gasped and staggered, Daewoo twisted the shock stick from his grip and drove it into the alien's stomach. The Drukai dropped like a stone. The entire exchange took less than 3 seconds. The watching crowd gasped. That wasn't possible. Humans were supposed to be slow, weak, fragile. The second Drukai swung his shock stick at Daewoo's head. The human ducked under it, stepped inside the alien's guard, and delivered 3 rapid punches to the Drukai's midsection. The alien's armor absorbed most of the impact, but Daewoo had already moved on. He swept the alien's legs, sending him crashing to the deck. Vrak roared and lunged at Daewoo. The Drukai was massive, easily twice the human's weight. His clawed hands reached for Daewoo's throat, but Daewoo twisted at the last second, and Vrak's momentum carried him past. Daewoo brought the stolen shock stick down on the back of Vrak's knee. The joint buckled with a wet cracking sound. Vrak howled in pain and rage. He spun, faster than something his size should move, and his tail whipped around. The heavy tail caught Daewoo in the ribs. The impact sent the human flying backward. He hit a cargo container hard enough to dent the metal. Yes. Vrak limped forward, favoring his injured leg. You're fast, human, but you're still weak. That would have killed most species. Daewoo pushed himself off the container. Blood ran from his mouth. His breathing was labored. At least 2 of his ribs were broken. Any sensible being would have stayed down, but Daewoo stood up. He spat blood onto the deck and rolled his shoulders. That all you got? He asked. Vrak stared. The human should be unconscious. The human should be crippled. But the human was standing, ready to continue fighting. What are you? Vrak whispered. Daewoo didn't answer. He just walked forward, steady and calm, like a machine that couldn't be stopped. The second Drukai had gotten back to his feet. He activated his shock stick and thrust it at Daewoo. The weapon connected with the human's shoulder. Electricity arced through Daewoo's body. His muscles spasmed. The watching aliens murmured. Shock sticks could drop a Drukai in seconds. A human should have been knocked out instantly, but Daewoo's hand shot out and grabbed the shock stick. His grip tightened, and he pulled the Drukai toward him. The alien stumbled forward, surprised. Daewoo's forehead slammed into the Drukai's face. The alien's nose shattered. Before he could recover, Daewoo had taken the shock stick and used it to sweep the alien's legs again. This time, when the Drukai hit the ground, he stayed down. Electricity still crackled over Daewoo's skin, but he ignored it. His muscles twitched and spasmed, but he kept moving forward. Vrak backed away. This wasn't right. This wasn't natural. The human was wounded, shocked, and should have been finished. But he kept coming like nothing could stop him. Station security. Someone in the crowd shouted. Call station security. But security was already coming. A team of 4 guards in armor rushed into the bay. They were a mixed species group, professional and well-trained. The leader, a stocky alien with gray skin, raised his hands. Everyone stand down. Drop your weapons. The first Drukai who had been hit was still on the ground, groaning. The second was unconscious, his face a mess of blood. Vrak stood on one good leg, his other knee bent at an unnatural angle, and Daewoo stood in the center, still holding the shock stick, blood running down his face and dripping from his mouth. Human. Drop the weapon, the security leader ordered. Daewoo looked at the shock stick in his hand as if noticing it for the first time. He dropped it. It clattered on the deck. Now step back and put your hands where I can see them. Daewoo complied. His movements were slow and careful. His eyes never left Vrak. He attacked us. Vrak shouted. The human is insane. He needs to be locked up. The security leader looked around the bay. He saw the watching crowd. He saw the damage. He saw 3 Drukai, 2 unconscious and 1 crippled. and one human standing with what should have been crippling injuries. "Sir," one of the security guards said nervously, pointing at a scanner. "The human has 2 broken ribs, internal bleeding, electrical trauma, and multiple lacerations. He should be in medical, not standing." The security leader stared at Daewoo. "Why are you still standing?" Daewoo wiped blood from his mouth. "My daughter was hurt. I'm not done until she's safe." As if hearing her cue, Hai-Rin walked over to her father. She carried the medical kit and looked completely calm, as if watching her father fight 3 armed aliens was normal. She opened the kit and started pulling out supplies. "Hold still, Dad," she said. She began cleaning the cuts on his face with practiced efficiency. The watching aliens whispered to each other. A human child treating her father's wounds in the middle of a combat zone. What kind of species were these humans? What happened here? The security leader demanded. "Someone explain." Multiple voices called out at once. Several aliens had recorded the incident on their personal devices. Within minutes, the security leader had reviewed 3 different angles of the confrontation. The footage was clear. Vrak and his crew had blocked Daewoo and Hai-Rin. They had demanded payment. When the child protested, Vrak had shoved her down. Then Vrak had struck Daewoo, and then the human had fought back. "Self-defense," the security leader muttered. He looked at Vrak with disgust. "You attacked the child and her father. On a neutral station. You're done. He's dangerous." Vrak protested. "Look what he did to us. Humans are a threat to everyone." The security leader shook his head. "You started it. You hit first. You targeted a child. That's 3 violations of station law." He gestured to his team. "Take them to the brig. All 3 of them." As the security team moved to arrest the Drukai, the leader approached Daewoo. "You need medical attention. Now." "I'm fine," Daewoo said. Hai-Rin had finished bandaging his face and was now wrapping his ribs. "You have broken bones and internal bleeding," the security leader insisted. "I've had worse." Daewoo looked down at his daughter. "You okay, Rin?" She showed him her bandaged hands. "Just scrapes." "I'm okay, Dad." The security leader studied them both. The human father with his terrible injuries, still standing, still protecting his child. The human child, calm and competent, treating wounds that would have sent most species into shock. "What are you people?" he asked quietly. Hai-Rin looked up at him with those serious dark eyes. "We're just humans," she said simply. "Dad says we're like honey badgers." "Honey badgers?" "They're animals from Earth," Hai-Rin explained as she continued wrapping her father's ribs. "They're small and don't look dangerous, but they fight things 10 times their size. They don't give up, even when they're hurt. They just keep going." The security leader looked at Daewoo again. The human was swaying slightly, his face pale from blood loss. But he was still standing, still conscious, still ready to fight if needed. "I need to file a report," the security leader said. "This incident will be sent to the Galactic Council. Humans are still a new species. They'll want to know about this." "We were defending ourselves," Daewoo said quietly. "We didn't start it." "I know. The footage is clear. But still," the security leader gestured at the 3 unconscious or disabled Drukai. "1 human against 3 trained enforcers. And you won while protecting a child. That's going to raise questions." Daewoo picked up Hai-Rin. She wrapped her arms around his neck. "I just want to unload my cargo and leave," he said. "You can go. But there will be an investigation. Don't leave the station until it's cleared." Daewoo nodded. He walked back toward his ship, carrying his daughter. Every step looked painful, but he didn't stumble. The crowd parted for him, aliens moving aside quickly as they passed. The whispers followed them. Did you see how fast he moved? He took a shock stick, hit, and kept fighting. Those injuries would kill a Vexian. What kind of world do humans come from? I heard their planet is a death world. Everything there tries to kill them. No wonder they're so dangerous. Hyrin rested her head on her father's shoulder. Are we in trouble? She asked quietly. Maybe, Daewoo admitted. But we did nothing wrong. We protected ourselves. I know, Hyrin said. But I think things are going to change now. They're scared of us. Daewoo carried his daughter into their ship and sealed the airlock behind them. Only then did he allow himself to sit down heavily. His hands shook as the adrenaline finally wore off. Hyrin immediately got the advanced medical kit and started treating his internal injuries with the scanner. At 8 years old, she knew how to use every piece of medical equipment on the ship. She had to. Her father's old life had taught him many skills, including how to survive terrible wounds. Outside the ship, station security reviewed the footage again and again. Word was already spreading through the galactic network. A human had fought 3 Drukai and won. A human had taken injuries that should have been fatal and kept fighting. The galaxy was about to learn something new about humanity. They were about to learn about the honey badger. The video reached the Galactic Council chambers within 6 hours. By the next day, it had spread to every major system in known space. Billions of beings watched as a single human fought and defeated 3 Drukai, enforcers, while protecting his child. The reaction was immediate and divided. On the pleasure planet Varo 6, a group of wealthy Kelth traders watched the video in their private lounge. One of them paused the footage at the moment. Daewoo stood up after being hit by Vrak's tail. Replay that section, he ordered. They watched again as the human crashed into the cargo container, with enough force to dent the metal. They watched him stand up, bleeding and injured, ready to continue fighting. That should have killed him, one Kel said quietly. The impact force alone should have shattered his spine. But it didn't, another replied. What kind of species can take that kind of damage and keep fighting? On the military world of Drex Prime, Commander Yumbio of the Terran Defense Force watched the video with a mixture of pride and concern. She was a career officer, 50 years old, and had spent decades building relationships with other species' militaries. Now those relationships were strained. Commander Yoon, her assistant said, gesturing to the communication console. The Drukai High Command is demanding an explanation. They're calling it an unprovoked attack on their citizens. Yumbio snorted. Unprovoked? Their citizen attacked a child first. It's all on the video. They're saying the human used excessive force. That he's a trained killer who should have shown restraint. He did show restraint, Yumbio replied. He warned them multiple times to walk away. They chose to escalate. She stood and straightened her uniform. Set up a call with the Galactic Council. If they want an explanation, I'll give them one. In the academic halls of the Zentari Institute, scientist Nasol reviewed the combat footage for the 20th time. She was a xenobiologist specializing in comparative species evolution. The data she was seeing fascinated and terrified her in equal measure. Look at this, she told her research assistant, highlighting specific frames. Watch his pupils during the fight. They dilate. His breathing changes. His movements become more efficient, more focused. Combat stress response? Her assistant suggested. More than that. Much more. Nasol pulled up human biological data. Humans have a chemical response system unlike most species. When threatened, their bodies produce a hormone called adrenaline. It increases strength, reduces pain sensitivity, and sharpens focus. Many species have fear responses. Not like this. Nasol showed comparative data. A Drukai experiencing combat stress becomes 30% stronger for approximately 2 minutes. Then exhaustion sets in. A human under adrenaline stress can maintain peak performance for 10 to 15 minutes. And during that time, they ignore injuries that would incapacitate other species. Our assistant stared at the data. But why? What kind of evolution produces that? Nasol pulled up another file. Earth, the human homeworld. Let me show you something. The holographic display showed a rotating planet. It looked beautiful from space, with blue oceans and green continents. But Nasol zoomed in, showing ecosystem after ecosystem. Earth is classified as a Class 7 death world, she explained. One of the most hostile planets known to produce intelligent life. Look at the predator count. Humans evolved alongside creatures designed to kill them. Large predators that could crush them. Venomous creatures that could poison them. Parasites that could eat them from the inside. Diseases that could wipe out entire populations. How did they survive? They didn't just survive. They became the dominant species. Nasol showed footage of Earth animals. Humans couldn't outrun the predators. They couldn't outfight them in direct combat. So they evolved different advantages: endurance, tool use, social cooperation, and most importantly, the ability to keep going even when injured or exhausted. She showed a video of an Earth creature called a honey badger. The small animal fought off a pride of lions, refusing to give up despite being outnumbered and outmatched. Humans have a saying, Nasol continued. They say they're like honey badgers. Small, relatively weak, but absolutely fearless when defending something they care about. Our assistant watched the video of Daewoo again, then looked at the honey badger footage. The similarities were striking. Both fought larger opponents. Both ignored pain and injury. Both simply refused to stop. This changes everything, the assistant whispered. If all humans are like this, not all humans are soldiers, Nasol said. That human, Daewoo, was a cargo hauler, a civilian. Imagine what their actual military can do. The message was clear. Humans had been playing peaceful, allowing other species to underestimate them. But underneath the friendly exterior was something dangerous. Something that evolved to survive a planet that tried to kill them every single day. 3 days after the incident, the Galactic Council convened an emergency session. Representatives from 200 species gathered in the massive chamber. The topic was simple: what to do about humanity. High Arbiter Dex, a towering insectoid being, called the session to order. We are here to discuss the Nexus 7 incident and the implications for human integration into galactic society. A Drukai representative stood immediately. My people demand justice. One of our citizens was crippled by a human. 2 others were hospitalized. This is an act of aggression. Commander Yumbio rose from her seat in the human delegation. Your people attacked the child and her father. The security footage is clear. They had every right to defend themselves. The human used excessive force. The Drukai shouted. He is clearly a trained killer. He was a civilian protecting his daughter. Yumbio replied calmly. And yes, he had military training. Many humans do. Is that illegal? A Calth representative spoke up. The concern is not whether it was legal. The concern is what it reveals about human capabilities. One human defeated 3 trained Drukai. And he did it while sustaining injuries that would have killed most species. Murmurs spread through the chamber. Yumbio gestured, and a holographic display activated. Let me show you something. This is Daewoo's military record. The file appeared for all to see. Daewoo had served in the Terran Breach teams for 8 years. He had participated in 47 combat operations. He had been wounded 7 times. After his wife died, he retired to raise his daughter. He was a soldier, Yumbio continued, but he left that life behind. He became a cargo hauler, a peaceful trader. He wanted nothing to do with violence. But when his child was threatened, his old training took over. This is not unusual for humans. That's what concerns us, a Vexian diplomat said. How many humans have military training? How many could do what this Daewoo did? Yunbyo met his eyes. Roughly 30% of adult humans have some form of military or defense training. And yes, many of them could do what Daewoo did. But most of them choose not to. We have been peaceful members of the galactic community for 50 years. We follow the rules. We trade honestly. We harm no one. Unless provoked, the Drukai representative said darkly. Yes, Yunbyo said simply. Unless provoked. Is that wrong? Should we not defend ourselves when attacked? High Arbiter Dex raised a hand for silence. The human makes a fair point. By our own laws, they were acting in self-defense. The question is not whether they broke our laws. The question is whether humanity represents a threat to galactic peace. Nasol stood from her seat in the Scientific Observer section. May I speak? Dex nodded. The Council recognizes scientist Nasol of the Zentari Institute. Nasol activated her own display, showing the biological data she had compiled. I have been studying human evolution and biology. I believe I can explain what happened at Nexus 7. For the next 20 minutes, she walked the Council through human evolutionary history. She explained about adrenaline and endurance hunting. She showed footage of human athletes running for hours without stopping. She displayed data on human pain tolerance and healing factors. Humans evolved to survive, Nasol concluded. Their planet tried to kill them in every possible way, and they adapted. They became endurance predators. They can chase prey for days until it collapses from exhaustion. They can fight while wounded because their bodies produce natural painkillers. They can make decisions under stress that would paralyze other species. You make them sound like monsters, a Calth representative said. Not monsters, Nasol replied. Survivors. There's a difference. Monsters seek violence. Humans avoid it. But when forced to fight, they have millions of years of evolution telling them not to give up. Ever. The council chamber was silent. Finally, High Arbiter Dex spoke. This council must decide how to proceed. We have several options. We can accept humanity as they are. We can place restrictions on human expansion. Or we can quarantine Earth until we better understand the risks. Quarantine? Yunbyo stood angrily. We have done nothing wrong. You have done nothing wrong yet, a cautious voice said. It was Ambassador Kell, an insectoid diplomat known for his moderate views. But the galaxy is afraid, Commander. We thought we understood humanity. Now we realize we don't. You've been hiding your true nature. We haven't been hiding anything, Yunbyo protested. We've been honest and peaceful. Just because we can fight doesn't mean we want to. The honey badger, Nasol said suddenly. Everyone turned to look at her. 3 weeks after the Nexus 7 incident, Tae Daewoo and Hai Rin stood in a conference room on Earth. The building was in Geneva, headquarters of the Terran Diplomatic Corps. Outside the windows, they could see the Swiss Alps covered in snow. Inside, they faced a panel of Earth's most important officials. Daewoo's ribs had healed, though they still ached sometimes. The cuts on his face had faded to thin scars. Hai Rin's hands were completely healed, no sign remaining of the scrapes she had gotten on the station. Mr. Tae, said Director Park, head of the Diplomatic Corps. She was a stern woman in her 60s, with gray hair pulled back in a tight bun. Do you understand the situation you've created? I was defending my daughter, Daewoo replied quietly. I would do it again. And that's the problem, Park said, but her tone wasn't angry. Just tired. You did exactly what any parent would do. But now the galaxy questions whether humanity can be trusted. They fear us. Commander Yumbio sat at the table, still in her military uniform. The Galactic Council has given us 1 month to provide documentation about our species. They want to know everything. Our military capabilities, our evolutionary history, our culture. And they want to understand why a civilian cargo hauler could defeat 3 trained enforcers. I'm not special, Daewoo said. Any soldier could have done what I did. That's what scares them, Yumbio replied. You're not special. You're normal for a human with military training. And there are millions of humans like you. Director Park stood and walked to the window. We need to craft a response that's honest, but also reassuring. We need to show the galaxy that humans are not a threat, while also making it clear we won't be pushed around. An impossible balance, muttered Dr. Kim, the diplomatic corps' chief psychologist. He was a younger man with wire-rimmed glasses who had been studying Daewoo for the past hour. How do you tell someone we're dangerous but peaceful and expect them to believe you? Maybe we're asking the wrong question, a small voice said. Everyone turned to look at Hai-Rin. She sat in a chair that was too big for her, her feet dangling above the floor. She had been quiet during the entire meeting, just watching and listening like she always did. What do you mean? Director Park asked gently. You're trying to explain what humans are, Hai-Rin said. But they already know what we are. They saw the video. They saw what Dad did. No explanation will change that. Then what should we do? Yumbio asked. Hai-Rin thought for a moment, her face serious. Tell them the truth. Tell them why Dad did it. Tell them about Mom. Daewoo tensed. Hai-Rin, I don't think. They need to understand. Hai-Rin interrupted, looking at her father with those wise dark eyes. They're scared because they thought they knew what we were. They thought we were weak and soft. Now they know we're not, and it scares them. But they don't understand why we're like this. Dr. Kim leaned forward, interested. Go on. Hai-Rin turned to face the panel. My mom was a diplomat. She worked with alien species all the time. She taught me about them, about how they think differently than humans. Your mother was Ji-Wa, Director Park said softly. She died 2 years ago during the colony outbreak on New Sol. Hai-Rin nodded. Mom used to say that humans are different because we care too much. Other species care about their families and their tribes. But humans care about everyone. Even strangers. Even aliens we just met. She paused. Mom died because she stayed behind to help sick colonists evacuate. She didn't have to. They weren't her family. But she stayed anyway. And the disease killed her. The room was silent. That's what humans do, Hai-Rin continued. We protect people. Even when it's dangerous. Even when it doesn't make sense. Dad didn't fight because he likes fighting. He fought because someone hurt me. And he would fight to protect any child, not just me. Yumbio stared at the 8-year-old girl. You're saying we should emphasize human protective instincts? I'm saying we should be honest about what we are, Hai-Rin replied. We're not monsters. We're not warmongers. But we're also not weak. We're humans. We survive. We protect our own. And sometimes that means fighting. Dr. Kim was scribbling notes rapidly. This is brilliant. We don't apologize for being dangerous. We explain why we're dangerous. It's not aggression. It's defense. It's protection. But will that be enough? Director Park asked. The council is still afraid. They should be afraid, Hai-Rin said simply. Not because we'll hurt them, but because if they threaten us or our families, we won't back down. Ever. Like honey badgers. Despite the serious situation, Yumbio smiled. You know about honey badgers? Dad told me about them. He says humans are like honey badgers. We don't look scary, but we never give up. Hai-Rin looked at her father. Right, Dad? Daewoo nodded slowly. That's right. Over the next week, the Terran diplomatic corps worked on Earth's official response to the Galactic Council. But they did something unusual. They asked Hyrin to participate in the planning sessions. At first, it seemed strange. She was just a child. But every time the adults got stuck trying to explain something or worried about how aliens might react, Hyrin offered simple, clear insights. "You're making it too complicated," she told them during one session. "Just tell them the truth. Humans evolved on a dangerous planet. We had to become tough to survive. But we're not aggressive. We're protective. There's a difference." Nasol, who had traveled to Earth to help with the response, nodded in agreement. "She's right. The biological data supports this. Humans are not naturally aggressive compared to many species. But your protective instincts are extremely strong. So we frame our response around that," Yunbio said, thinking out loud. "We acknowledge our capabilities, but emphasize they're defensive in nature." "Show them human history," Hyrin suggested. "Show them how we stopped fighting each other. How we built cities and cultures and art. We could have destroyed ourselves with weapons, but we chose not to. That's important." Director Park looked at the child with newfound respect. "Your mother taught you well. Mom said that understanding others is the most important skill anyone can have," Hyrin replied. "She said most fights happen because people don't understand each other." "Your mother was right," Park said quietly. They assembled Earth's response carefully. It included complete biological data on human evolution. It showed footage of human history, both the violence and the peace. It included testimonials from aliens who had worked with humans and found them to be reliable, honest partners. But the most important part was a video message. It featured Daewoo and Hyrin, recorded in their small cargo ship. In the video, Daewoo spoke calmly to the camera. "My name is Daewoo. I was a soldier for 8 years. I've killed. I've seen my friends die. I left that life because I wanted peace. I wanted to raise my daughter in a galaxy where she didn't have to be afraid." The camera showed Hyrin sitting next to her father, her small hand in his. "But when someone threatens my child," Daewoo continued, "all that training comes back. Not because I want to hurt anyone, but because I will do anything to protect her. Any human parent would do the same. Any parent of any species would do the same." Hyrin looked at the camera with her serious eyes. "We're not scary because we like fighting. We're scary because we love our families. And that will never change. Humans will always protect the people they care about. That's just who we are." The video ended with a simple message. Humanity seeks peace, but we will never be prey. When Director Park reviewed the final response package, she shook her head in wonder. An 8-year-old child figured out what all our diplomats couldn't. "We don't apologize for being strong. We explain why we're strong." "She's a remarkable child," Nasol observed. "Our mother must have been an exceptional person." "She was," Daewoo said quietly. "Jiwa always saw the best in everyone. She believed that understanding could solve any problem. She would have handled this situation better than I did." "I think you handled it exactly right," Yunbio said. "You protected your daughter. That's what humans do. And now the galaxy will understand that." The response package was sent to the Galactic Council with 1 week remaining before the deadline. It included thousands of pages of documentation, hundreds of hours of video, and complete biological profiles of human capabilities. But everyone knew the most important part was the simple video message from a father and daughter on a cargo ship. As they waited for the council's reaction, Hyrin sat in the diplomatic corps cafeteria eating ice cream. Dr. Kim joined her, carrying his own bowl. "Can I ask you something?" he said. Hyrin nodded. "Were you scared on the station when your father was fighting?" Hyrin thought about it. A little. But I knew Dad would protect me. He always does. Even when it's hard. Even when it hurts him. She took another bite of ice cream. That's what parents do. That's what humans do. We protect each other. What do you think the council will decide? I don't know, Hiron admitted. But I think they'll understand. Once they stop being scared, they'll see that having humans as friends is better than having humans as enemies. Dr. Kim smiled. You're very wise for 8 years old. My mom taught me to think about things from other people's perspective, Hiron said. The council is scared because they didn't know what we were capable of. But now they do. And once they think about it, they'll realize we've been good neighbors. We followed the rules. We've helped when asked. The Galactic Council chambers were more crowded than they had been in a decade. Every species with voting rights had sent representatives. The gallery was packed with observers. News drones hovered near the ceiling, broadcasting the proceedings across known space. Everyone wanted to see what the council would decide about humanity. High Arbiter Dex stood at the center podium, his insectoid frame imposing against the chamber lights. This council has reviewed Earth's submission. We have examined the biological data, the historical records, and the testimonials. We have watched the message from Tede Wu and his daughter. Now we must decide humanity's place in the galactic community. In the human delegation section, Commander Yumbio sat straight and still. Next to her sat Director Park, Dr. Kim, and Scientist Na Sol, who had been invited as an expert witness. Behind them in a special observation box sat Daewoo and Hai Rin. The little girl held her father's hand tightly. We will begin with testimony, Dex announced. The council recognizes the Drukai representative. A tall Drukai stood, but it was not the same one who had demanded justice before. This was Elder Kor, head of the Drukai Military Council. His scales were darker with age, and his eyes held the weight of experience. The Drukai people have reviewed the evidence thoroughly, Kor began, his voice deep and measured. We have also reviewed the actions of our citizen, Vrak. We find that Vrak acted dishonorably. He targeted a child. He demanded illegal payment. He struck first. Under our own laws, the human's response was justified. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. This was unexpected. Furthermore, Kor continued, we have reviewed historical records of human interactions with our species. In 73 documented encounters, humans have been peaceful, honest, and fair. They have helped our traders, rescued our citizens from dangers, and honored their agreements. One incident of violence, provoked by our own citizen, does not change decades of peaceful cooperation. Kor looked directly at the human delegation. The Drukai people propose that humanity be granted full member status in the Galactic Council, with all rights and responsibilities that entails. The chamber erupted in surprised voices. A Drukai proposing humans be given more status, not less? Dex called for order. The council recognizes the Kelf representative. A Kelf trader stood, her blue skin shimmering in the light. The Kelf Commerce Union has conducted extensive trade with humans for 20 years. In that time, we have found them to be the most reliable partners in the galaxy. They deliver on time. They honor contracts even when it costs them profit. They have never cheated or stolen from us. She pulled up a holographic display showing trade statistics. Human merchants have a 99.7% satisfaction rating among our members. That is higher than any other species, including our own. We have seen their strength at Nexus 7, yes, but we have also seen their integrity in thousands of peaceful transactions. The Kelf representative sat down, and a Vexian diplomat stood without being called. The Vexian Medical Consortium wishes to speak, the diplomat said. We have worked with human doctors in 12 colony medical emergencies. Humans volunteer for dangerous missions. They treat patients from all species with equal care. During the New Soul outbreak, a human diplomat named HFY stayed behind to help evacuate sick colonists. She died saving lives. The diplomat looked at Hai Rin in the observation box. That diplomat's daughter is here today. She lost her mother because humans care too much, not too little. Is that a species we should fear? More representatives stood to speak. The Centauri scientists praised human research cooperation. The Varn refugees told how human colonies had offered them shelter. The Telvani traders described how humans had helped them fight off pirates. One by one, species that had worked with humans testified to their character. Yes, humans were dangerous, but they were also kind, generous, and trustworthy. Finally, Dex called for Nasol to present her findings. The Centauri scientist stood at the central podium, her display showing human biological data. I have spent the last month studying human evolution and psychology. I want to address the Council's fears directly. She showed footage of Earth's predators: lions, bears, crocodiles, sharks. Humans evolved on a planet filled with creatures designed to kill them. They survived not by being the strongest or fastest, but by being the smartest and most persistent. They learned to work together. They learned to plan. And most importantly, they learned never to give up. The display changed to show human medical data. Human bodies produce chemicals that allow them to function under extreme stress. They can ignore pain to protect their families. They can continue fighting with injuries that would kill most species. But here's what's important. These responses only activate under specific circumstances. She highlighted the adrenaline response system. Humans do not walk around in this enhanced state. They are not naturally aggressive. But when they or their loved ones are threatened, their bodies transform them into something formidable. It's a survival mechanism, not a predatory instinct. Nasol showed the video of Daiwu again, but this time with biological overlays. Watch carefully. That was stress response activated when his daughter was hurt. Not before. He offered Vrak multiple chances to walk away. Only when his child was endangered and he was attacked did he fight back. She turned to face the Council directly. Humans are not ticking time bombs. They are loyal, protective, and peaceful. But they have the capability to defend themselves and others. I asked the Council, is that not exactly the kind of ally we want? The chamber fell silent as Nasol sat down. Vex waited a moment before speaking. Does the human delegation wish to address the Council? Commander Yumbio stood and walked to the podium. Members of the Council, we have heard much testimony today, but I think there's one voice you need to hear most. She gestured to the observation box. Rin, daughter of Teidewu and HFY, would you come forward? Rin looked up at her father. Daewoo squeezed her hand gently. You can do this, he whispered. Just tell them the truth. The little girl walked down to the Council floor. She had to stand on a platform to reach the podium microphone. Hundreds of eyes from dozens of species watched her. Hello, Rin said simply. Her voice was small but clear. My name is Rin. I'm 8 years old. I'm the one who got hurt on Nexus 7. She looked around at all the alien representatives. I know you're scared of us. I know you saw what my dad did and it scared you. But I want to ask you something. What would your parents do if someone hurt you? Silence. Would they run away? Would they just let it happen? Or would they protect you? Rin's dark eyes moved from representative to representative. My dad protected me because that's what parents do. Human parents. Drukai parents. Kelth parents. All parents. She took a breath. My mom died protecting people who weren't even her own species. She could have left. She could have saved herself. But she stayed because people needed help. That's what humans do. We help. We protect. We care. But we also survive. Hiren continued. Earth is a dangerous planet. Everything they've tried to kill us. So we learn to be tough. We learn to keep going even when we're hurt. We learn to protect our families no matter what. That's not evil. That's just survival. She looked directly at High Arbiter Vex. You're trying to decide if humans are safe, but you're asking the wrong question. We're not safe. We're strong. We're dangerous when we need to be. But we're also loyal and kind, and we keep our promises. Wouldn't you rather have humans as friends than as enemies? The chamber was absolutely silent. An 8-year-old child had just summarized the entire debate in simple terms that everyone could understand. Hiren smiled. My dad calls us honey badgers. They're small animals from Earth that fight things way bigger than them. They don't give up. They don't run away. But they're not mean. They just want to be left alone. That's us. We're humans. We're honey badgers. And if you're our friend, we'll protect you too. She stepped down from the platform and walked back to her father. Daewoo picked her up and held her close, pride shining in his eyes. High Arbiter Vex stood silent for a long moment. Then he spoke. The Council will now vote on humanity's status. 3 options are before us. Full membership with unrestricted rights, conditional membership with restrictions on expansion, or quarantine pending further study. The voting began. Each species cast their ballot electronically. The results appeared on the main display as they came in. The tension in the chamber was unbearable. Decades of human effort hung in the balance. Would they be accepted? Restricted? Isolated? Finally, the last vote registered. Vex reviewed the results and nodded slowly. By a vote of 157 to 31, with 12 abstentions. This council grants humanity full membership status, with all rights and responsibilities. The human delegation erupted in relief and joy. Yunbyo hugged Director Park. Dr. Kim punched the air. Nasol smiled and nodded Dot, but Vex wasn't finished. Furthermore, the Council recognizes humanity's unique capabilities. We propose that Earth establish a security training program to share defensive techniques with other species. Many worlds lack Earth's natural dangers and have not developed strong defensive instincts. Humanity can help teach others to protect themselves. Yunbyo stood. Earth accepts this responsibility with honor.